So Miller Lite has come under fire. This is out of Fox News. Miller Lite's feminist ad for March goes viral amid the Bud Light backlash. These companies are broken, some say. Miller Lite's pro-woman ad for March went viral this last Monday as conservatives blasted the video as woke, many drawing parallels to Bud Light's current marketing controversy. However, Miller Lite released a liberal ad campaign around the same time as Bud Light, saying that it had recently gone viral for alienating beer drinkers. In an ad celebrating Women's History Month, Miller Lite used comedian Ilana Glazer to condemn the bikini-laden women beer ads of the past. Okay, so first off, I've never heard of this Ilana Glazer. I have no idea who she is. So she must not be a very good comedian. That's how I'm going to start it off. But then I'm going to pull up the ad for us to watch because I figured that's the best way that we can break it down and kind of talk about, is this, my biggest question to this is this a woke, or is this actually a woke ad? Is this more woke than Bud Light? That's what we're really going to talk about here today. Is this more woke than Bud Light? But before I get into that, before I show the ad, I want to let everybody know today's episode is brought to you by Paul Garcia Productions out of Normal, Illinois. Paul Garcia Productions creates stunning and effective videos and commercials for Central Illinois businesses. Visit paulgarciaproductions.com to learn more and help your business get more business. Everybody, the link is in the description of this video. You can go check out Paul Garcia Productions. He does great footage and everything, and he sponsors my show, so I love the guy to death. Everybody, Paul Garcia Productions, to help your business get more business. But back to this ad. So let's get into the ad itself out of Miller Lite. So I'm going to make sure I'm sharing my screen so everybody can see just exactly what Miller Lite had to say in this new advertisement. Well, not new. It's relatively new advertisement. Here is this.
Here's a little known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever. From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis.
Wow. God forbid they put women in bikinis.
Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their but the whole beer industry's Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this and buying it back so that they can turn it into good for women brewers. Literally, good How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad into compost. Then we feed compost to worms, push out beautiful fertilizer.
That good helps farmers grow quality hops, which is then donated to women brewers to make their own really good
But there's definitely more out there. In your attic, in the garage, in your parents' basement. Send any you got into Miller Lite, and they'll turn that into good too. Oh. So here's to women, because without us, there would be no beer.
Okay, so this is the advertisement that has a lot of conservatives up in arms. I'll be frank. It said that she's a comedian. I did not find that particularly funny at all. I'm not like mad about it. I'm not really that mad about it. That's the other thing. I'm really not that mad about it. And so I did a little bit. So it starts off by saying that women are responsible for beer being a thing, right? That's kind of how it starts off. So I actually did a little bit of research into this. I went to Women's History. I found the National Women's History Museum. They have a website on this. I'll show my screen, so if you guys want to look this up later, you can. So you can take a look right here. So Women and Beer, a Forgotten Pairing. This is from womenshistory.org. So I looked into this a little bit and I read through this, and actually the ad does have a little bit of a point. According to this kind of article from the womenshistory.org, women's involvement in brewing beer has been documented back to 4,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, as mentioned in the ad, and possibly earlier. Ancient Sumerians even had a goddess of beer, Ninkasi. Historically, women were involved in brewing since it was seen as another domestic task. So there we go. So here's what wasn't mentioned in the commercial, is that the reason why women were so involved in brewing in the past, they were actually called brewsters. It used to be a feminized term. Brewsters used to mean a female brewer, as brewer meant a male brewer. Now brewsters is kind of just used for almost anybody. But the point being here is that brewing originally was actually a part of homemaking. That's really what it kind of was, is the traditional, very traditional, and if anything, kind of conservative understanding that women tend to be better homemakers than men. While men were out hunting, working, making things like that, or out of the house doing things, women were back at home, making the home and brewing beer. That's where it actually originates from. But this feminist advertisement won't actually tell you that that's where it originates from. It originates from homemaking. That's why women historically had to do with making beer. Let's continue a little bit, though. Miller Lite responded. Well, first off, conservatives started having a lot of backlash, saying that this is just another example of the Dylan Mulvaney thing, and that that this is woke, this is feminist, this is bad, everything like that. And the Miller Lite responded to the backlash. A company spokesperson said that, quote, "This video was about two things: worm poop and saying women shouldn't be forced to mud wrestle in order to sell beer. Neither of these things should be remotely controversial, and we hope beer drinkers can appreciate the humor and ridiculousness of this video from back in March." So this was back from Women's History Month. And I'll be honest, when I watched the video, here's my take on it. One, I think conservatives are a lot of conservative commentators and people out there are a little too angry about this video. I really didn't think it was that bad. Is it a little woke in some areas? Does it negate parts of the history that it tries to reference? Sure. Maybe I've just been desensitized due to the Mulvaney debacle. But first, Miller didn't parade around a man cosplaying as a woman as a spokesperson. Everyone in that ad, including the comedian, that looked like a woman seemed to be a biological woman. They didn't try to push any hidden agenda that you could pretend to be another gender in their beer advertising. If anything, this advertisement actually perpetuates a generally good idea that we should see women as more than just their bodies. And now, I don't mind a woman in bikini. I highly prefer it to men in bikinis. But it's a lot more. I mean, women can be seen as more than just their bodies. There is kind of a regular trope in advertising, and it's not just beer advertising, that you tend to have scantily clad women doing things that would appeal to men. There's one I know, I think it's a McDonald's or a Burger King ad where it's a woman. She's like laying on the beach in a bikini. She's glistening, oiled, tan, everything, having a cheeseburger right there. She's got it right there so that she can be ready to eat it. It's the whole idea of sex appeal. Sex sells. And so, okay, be mad at advertising companies for doing that. Try to include women more. I get that. Miller Lite, I'm not too angry about that. Do I necessarily agree and like love this ad? Would this be an ad that I would make? No, not personally, but I can understand where they're coming from. The other thing that I wanted to be clear about, though, too, is that this ad doesn't really take into account the issue of the hypocritical sides of modern day feminism. And what I mean by this is the idea that there's two sides of it. Women don't want to be objectified in modern day feminism. They don't want to be objectified. They don't want to be seen as their bodies, as just their bodies. But at the same time, they'll dress in ways that show off way too much and leave very little to the imagination, while also claiming that they need to be respected and not objectified. And then they'll have songs that are claimed to be feminist icon songs. And I'm talking about WAP by Cardi B, in which in it literally says, "I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you how I got this ring," and references the female genitalia, saying that women don't want to be objectified in modern day feminism. However, they do want you to know that the only thing they're good for is their genitalia. And I don't actually believe that. That's not what I believe, but that is what modern day feminism preaches, at least through things like WAP and the dress that's perpetuated in society and everything like that. But I digress. The point being is, when it comes to this Miller Lite ad, yes, it is not an overtly conservative ad. It doesn't push beer, boobs, and guns. But at its worst, at its absolute worst, this ad is moderately liberal. It pushes a general feminist undertone. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. We as conservatives cannot be so outraged at every little thing a company does, especially or every little thing that doesn't directly align with our values. Now, I'm not telling you not to boycott or do what you think is necessary. If you want to boycott Miller Lite, if this doesn't allow, I always tell people, if something does not align with your values, don't do it. So if you think that this Miller Lite ad does not align with your values, you should not do it. You should do things that align with your values. Period. Go do that. But we need to make sure that we are not blowing this as to the same proportion of what Bud Light did. Bud Light pushed a man who pretends to be a woman out to celebrate Women's History Month. This ad actually had something to do with women's history. Now, it kind of perversed it a little bit, but it actually had to do with women's history.